Good Saturday morning. This is it now, okay? This is chapter 11. Again, it's in John, okay? And you're going to see the Old Testament comes together in a predictive manner through the high priest, okay? And the high priest has a main function, not celebratory of the text. He's also the interpreter. Watch what he says. Many of the Jews who had come to Mary and seen what Jesus had done began to believe in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees convened the Sanhedrin and said, "What are we going to do? This man's performing many signs. If we leave him alone, all will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our land and our nation." They had a legitimate concern there, by the way. Romans hated revolutionaries. Christ looked like a revolutionary. But one of them, Caiaphas, very important guy, key guy, who was high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing. Nor do you consider that it is better for you that one man should die instead of the people, so that the whole nation may not perish. In the one person, all people will flourish. We will not perish." That's a crucial line. Now watch what John says. He didn't say this on his own, but since he was high priest for that year, he prophesied that Jesus was going to die for the nation, and not only for the nation, but also to gather into one the dispersed children of God, the human race. So from that day on, they planned to kill him. Okay? And that's neat, isn't it? You see that? See, that's the interpretive told by John. Caiaphas, despite himself, predicts global redemption in Christ. But one should die for the nation and beyond, for all. The nation, of course, is Judaism. So Jesus no longer walked about in public among the Jews, but he left for the region near the desert to a town called Ephraim. There he remained with his disciples. When the Passover of the Jews was near, and many went up from the country to Jerusalem before Passover to purify themselves. They looked for Jesus and said to one another, as they were in the temple area, "What do you think? That he will not come to the feast?" And see what the thing is, that Jerusalem is where the final where the final act will take place, where Christ will come to Jerusalem to die on the cross. That's not a throwaway line. John doesn't throw any lines away. You see how important Christ is, how important it is even Caiaphas, without intending so, prophesies that the death of Christ is the life of the world. The life that is the life of the world. And it's the truth. Caiaphas sees, even though he doesn't realize it, see, that the death of one man is the benediction to all the human race, all the world, okay? Better one guy should die than the rest of us get whacked. The rest of us should die. And you see that from Christ's point of view, from the church's point of view, Christianity's point of view. The death of the one, Christ, is the redemption of the entire global community of faith. Everyone. The new world is born out of the side of Christ. See, John is not pulling on he holds nothing back. See, that's neat, especially since next week you're going to go into Holy Week. This is, in a sense, high drama. There's an acceleration of drama as more and more you see the centrality of Christ and who he is and what he's about to do. You see him moving relentlessly toward Jerusalem, not only as a place, but as a moment of redemption. That's why we read John's Gospel on Good Friday, because it's the climactic moment of divine revelation in who and what we are and who and what is Christ, and the moment of redemption. It's not piety to me. It gives the meaning of life, because it gives a meaning to death. Insofar as in Christ, in dying in Christ, we rise with Christ. And in dying with Christ, we share in we fill up those things wanting in his suffering. We transform the world. We are co-redemptor in the redemptive action of Christ. We're baptized into his redemption, both as the recipient of redemption and as the practitioner of redemption. We redeem in and with Christ the world around us. We are not only the redeemed, we share in the redeeming efforts of Christ. You see that in your families. You bring grace as well as life to your children and your family, to your spouses. That's why marriage is a sacrament, because in your love to each other, you bring Christ to each other. And then that's redemption. It's grace. And you bring it to your children. First of all, in the life you give them, but in the education and the moral shaping of and the religious shaping of their consciousness. As fallible as we are, we bring Christ to the world. I do it in my vocation, you do it in yours. Yeah. Yeah. I think of that in Plato's Sophist, what it is to exist is to make a difference and have a difference made. The difference made to us, we are the redeemed in Christ. The difference we make is we share with Christ the redemption of the world. We are actors, active in the redemption of the world through the vocations that we have. For you, for many of the listeners here, it's marriage. For some of you who may be a consecrated religious, in the life you live religious life. For me, it's a combination of all the above, not the above. I mean, I'm a religious and a priest, but I'm an educator. And when I walk into classroom, I see my role is, in part, sharing a truth that is redemptively free. I want to bring life to those kids. And I see where truth is liberating. I don't want to be a slave to ignorance. I teach them nothing else. I teach them to believe in themselves, to believe in their own capacities to think and reflect and choose to believe, and to move forward in an actively positive way towards life, not to be afraid of life, but to live it. I tell my kids in class, lead, don't follow. Learn from the past, create the future. It's your future. You are the shapers of humanity. These kids are all going to be doctors, lawyers, professional people. I'm teaching the leaders of the next generation. What am I teaching them? Just to philosophize what Plato said, or Aristotle, or Aquinas? I'm teaching them to be reflective members of the community and leaders of the community through reflection and hopefully through faith. Not all of them are Christians. I have Muslims in class, Hindus, to believe and to transform the world through their belief and the courage of their belief and the willingness to sacrifice for that belief and therefore transform the world ahead of them. I think a great privilege of my life is to teach 18 to 20-year-olds. How many 80-year-olds get to talk to an 18-year-old 3 times a week? You know? When I see these kids, I see and look into the faces of tomorrow, and it's beautiful and firm. I see light and beauty in their eyes. I see tomorrow's promise, and I see the gospel. And I try to share the truth of the gospel, either philosophically or religiously, depending on the moment, given in a specific moment to a specific question, so that hopefully they will become reflective leaders of the world, espousing the values of Christianity, hopefully, or Judeo-Christianity, in such a manner that they are now the redeemers of the world by their positive impact on it. I mean that. I'm not there to pick up and make a buck. I'm out there to make a difference, and they will make a difference. If I teach them anything, it's to make a difference. But first by having a difference made to them, that they will allow the gospel to transform their hearts so they be agents of a Judeo-Christian wisdom, a wisdom that enlightens the world, gives it hope. I mean that. I believe in education, but I believe in a specific kind of it, not techne, not techniques, not skills, but wisdom. But a true wisdom rooted in the cross of Christ and the genius of Western philosophy, genius of Plato and Aristotle, in concert with St. Paul.